Actually, let me just start off first by saying welcome, everybody. I know we have new judges in this meeting, correct, Diane?
Jenny's going to go over that. So, yes,
Okay, well, I will not start with
Jenny.
that. I just want to say welcome, and we'll just let Jenny start off with the intros.
Yeah, welcome everyone. I wanted to let everyone know we've got 8 new judges joining us this year. I'll just run through everybody's name and introduce everyone. Allison McGrew from Pan Am is doing the ornamental seed in-ground and container trials. We've got Amalia Dominguez from Costa Farms doing the ornamental seed in-ground. Caroline Blanchard from LSU Ag Center, Hammond Research Station. She will be doing the ornamental non-seed container and the perennial trials. Kate Grundle at Borner Botanical, doing the ornamental seed in-ground and container and the non-seed container trial. Nate Savage at Greenleaf Plants will be doing the non-seed container trial. Noe Barajas at Cicada will be doing the ornamental seed in-ground and container trials. Rebecca Morse from West Coast Seeds doing the edible in-ground, and Mary Lewis from Syngenta doing the ornamental seed in-ground and container trials. So welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Great. And Chelsea, I think what you are going to do is speak on behalf of our AAS Trials Committee on a few items.
Yes, hi, thank you for having me. Hello, thank you for having me at the judges meeting. I'm Chelsea Lenzik from Bejo Seeds, and I am VPing the AAS Trials Committee. And so the judges and trials committee are kind of two halves of a whole. Of course, we are what the All America Selections community are now with under the National Garden Bureau. And so I just wanted to pop into this today and kind of let you know that we are available. You know, we're going to rely heavily on the judges as part of the trial committee, and we hope that you rely on us too as you move through, you know, what you do throughout the year. And so the trial committee purpose is to test new unsold cultivars, support and assist our judges to ensure successful trials, and maintain trust and respect from the edible, ornamental, and perennial breeders. And we're going to do that through vetting quality entries, optimizing new trial segments, evaluating acceptance criteria, developing assessment and winner metrics, and then developing some breeder metrics along the way as well. And so kind of just wanted to mention what our goals are and put out a call that, you know, as you're going through your year and you're thinking of something that would affect the bigger picture or that you have a question of or concern about, elevate it, elevate it to Denise. Denise and I are liaisons to each other's committees. And just wanted you to be aware that there's another piece of your group out here that's working in a different manner. And then I would also just like to plug the comparison committees. These are committees that affect you all directly. And so when you're out there and trialing and you're seeing what the comparisons are, you know, what the control varieties are, those are selected by a committee of industry experts just like yourselves. And so if you're feeling strongly that you in the future would like to have, you know, some voice around how those comparisons are selected, or just have questions or thoughts about it as well, that's another really great way to be involved and help with the overall success of our organization. And with that, that was kind of my little elevator pitch there. So
I'm glad you did, Chelsea, and you're right. If anybody's interested, they can reach out to Chelsea or Denise or me or Jenny, especially on comparison committee. It's interesting. We are going to go through all the comparisons in a little while. And so if anybody feels strongly, be careful of what you voice, because then we will say, hey, you need to be on the comparison committee. But, you know, we are always looking for additional members. We keep it fairly small, 5 or 6 on each one, but there's always changes. So yes, thank you for that, Chelsea.
sure. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Yes, thank you. The next thing on our agenda was to talk about website resources. And one of the first things I want to tell you about is that we are getting a new website. I'm saying this fall. It looks like it's on track to be a little bit earlier than fall, but as of right now, I'm going to say around November. If things roll out earlier, that's great. I would say keep track of your jamming with the judges. Jenny will put that in there as soon as we have a new website, or if you happen to be on this fall and all of a sudden you see a new look, that's why. We're going to make it much more functional. The mobile friendliness will be greatly improved. Our website is almost 10 years old, so you all know what happens when a website gets 10 years old. It doesn't function quite as well. So as far as things on the website currently, Jenny, you can jump in at any time. Of course, we're always putting the Mercado guides on there. Jenny does a great job of walking you through, doing screen grabs. She puts it on her phone and then puts those in the Mercado guide. But I would encourage you to do this soon. This is what, the end of April. So try to get this year's trial downloaded onto your phones. And if you have any issues, then arrange with Jenny. It may be as simple as an email, but if it's not as simple as an email, you'll want to call Jenny and she will help you walk through it. And if Jenny can't answer your questions, we will elevate it then to the folks, the programmers at Mercado, and they will be able to. But the guides are definitely on our website. Remember that it is password protected, the area of the judges site. We haven't changed the password since the new since our current website was launched. So the password is lowercase AAS 2016, meaning 2016. And we'll keep that same password so that nobody has to remember a new password for the new website. Last year's trial results are also on there, very high level trial results. We post them because I know a lot of times people are like, well, I really liked that one and I want to buy it and put it in my program. Where is it? Who's it from? So we do put that information in there. I mentioned Jammin'. All those archives are on the website. And then we do put a list of all of you. So if you want to correspond with some of the other judges, that list is there. We try to update it frequently. There are quite a few changes. And we don't list judging assistants. We're listing just judges. Correct, Jenny? We put just the judges there. And it does show, okay, and it does show which trial each of you does. So, if you're new and you've looked at the mentor list, but maybe you want to look at the other list and just see who else might be in your area, if you want to, or if you're traveling somewhere and want to visit another judge, that's the reason that we put that on there. And I think we only did that a year or two ago. So that's fairly new. So am I missing anything on the website, Jenny?
I don't think so. Are you doing the PowerPoint or am I
It should be. I'm going to do it. It's showing on your screen right now, right?
I just have the first page still. So.
Oh, well, maybe that's because Diane was talking and I can't talk and click forward at the same time. Sorry about that. Yeah, all that was there. So let me thank you for pointing that out. Here's today's agenda up here. And here's the website resources. Okay, was there anything else then, Jenny, that list? The Mercado instructions, the Jammin', the newsletter results, the trial downloads. I forgot that. Is that what you were going to say?
Yeah, just the next screen where they can find all of the trial entry descriptions. And when they click on that blue button, then the page below will show up and you'll click which trial you want to look at. And when you get into the trial for each entry, it'll give you more information than what is on your app. It'll give you photos of the comparisons in case you, maybe had a planting mix up or anything. You can just visually see what your comparisons are supposed to look like. And it has a little more information there for you. So that's for every trial. And you can just page through all of the entries there to get more information.
Thank you so much, Jenny. And then there's also this page about Mercado, which I think now you're going to talk about a little bit more in depth.
Basically, Mercado came out with a new version kind of midway through our trials last year. I think most of the judges did convert to the to the new version, which is great. It's a lot more user-friendly and easy to use. So if everybody could just make sure they have on their phone or tablet this newer version of the Mercado Variety Trials app, and it's kind of got the green color scheme versus the old version had a blue background and color scheme and some different graphics. So just if everybody could try to download their trials as soon as possible. There are a lot of judges and a lot of trials. And even though I hope that I've put everyone in their correct trials, and there are probably some mistakes, and I'd like to get them corrected before we get too far into the season. And just as a reminder, and to let the new judges know, what is available on Mercado right now, we call the interim round. We do look at this. We can download the data, but the information entered here isn't what we use to determine what becomes an AAS winner. So right now, if you want to play around with Mercado and put in just pretend information just to make sure everything's working, that's fine. It's not going to screw up our scoring or do anything. And you can just remember that, oh yeah, that first, data that you put in was just to try to get to know the app. That's fine. Because that way, if you're having any issues, we can kind of get those resolved before we're asking you for the final scores. So that would be really helpful. I'd say about half of the judges seem to have already at least downloaded their trials, whether they're actively using it or not yet. But if everybody could do that, I would appreciate it.
Great. Okay, so now we get to talk about the entries for this season. Jenny and I are going to share them, so neither one of us has to talk the entire time. We have a total of 19 entries for the edible trial. Then we have the 22 for the ornamental, 1 in the non-seed, and then 3 perennial entries. So let's see here. So we will start off by going through these. Not going to spend a lot of time on them, only if there's maybe something a little unique about the comparisons or why we chose them or directives for judging. So to start off, we have a white Romanesco, and we have a white comparison and a green comparison because we could only find one white one. So we thought it would be a good idea just so you still have 2 comparisons to give you a white and a green. And then for a cauliflower, it's a white typical curd head cauliflower. So we gave you 2 comparisons very similar, which is Freedom and Fujiyama. And for this one, it's a sweet pepper, and we used Pimento Elite for this one. We were only able to get 1 comparison. We did try on a second, but it was discontinued. So this one, you only have 1 comparison. You won't have to take up quite as much space now. And then we have a bicolor sweet corn. So really, it's all about the taste, the texture, and the fact that it's a bicolor. And we did find 2 other bicolors to compare it to. Cucumber is a mini snacking cucumber. So we got Gimlet as one, and then Green Light is the other one because it's an AAS winner. So please note the suggested maturity, harvest time for all of these so that you can compare them when they've matured at the same time or the same suggested harvest size, I guess is what I'm wanting to say. For this watermelon, it's the yellow gold rind with a red interior. We do have Fairy, which is an AAS winner, and then there is also red in gold. So those are the 2 comparisons. And for this beet, we're comparing it to the Chioggia Guardsmark and Avalanche. It is a red beet with a white interior. So we're comparing it to Chioggia for the taste, texture, and quality, but obviously not the interior color. And then for Avalanche, the interior color and the taste because it's an AAS winner. So we know that that one's really good. We have an OP determinate tomato, and it is being trialed against bush steak and Tasmanian chocolate. Then for the purple pole bean, we have these 2, Carmenet, I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce that one, sorry, and Triunfo Violetto. So both of those are purple potted pole beans. Say that 3 times. For this pumpkin, the rind, the outer color looks very similar to these. So we were having it trialed against these. This one is the one where we definitely want you to try the pumpkin seeds. This is one of the main reasons it was, I'm on the right one, right, Jenny, for this one? The pumpkin seeded one?
I think so.
Okay, because I think we only have one pumpkin in. So we have instructions on how to harvest the pumpkin seeds and roast them so that you can taste them. They're the hulless type, the pepita pumpkin. So that one we might have to wait and get some later scores in, but feel free to do that and enjoy your pumpkin seeds and you can compare them. Then we have the kale, which is a purple kale. So we're trialing against red boar and scarlet. It's also in the container trial. So red boar will be the comparison for the container trial. We have another milling corn. So all of you who did a wonderful job last year of harvesting it, drying it, grinding it, using it in whatever it was you made with it, we really appreciate that. So we do have another one this year. We can try that one out in comparison. We have two squash. We have a kabocha squash and Delica and Mambo are the comparisons here. Pretty straightforward. This one was interesting. We do have a green Romanesco, but it's long stemmed. And in that case, there was nothing else on the market. So we're asking you to trial it against a green Romanesco, which is Veronica, and then Fioretto, which is a white cauliflower, but it's the long stem or sprouting, whatever you want to call it, cauliflower, but this is a Romanesco. So it's green, long stem, sprouting Romanesco. So you're going to have some interesting things to compare here, the entry versus the comparisons. We have basil, more basil that is the mildew resistance, powdery mildew resistance. So we've got some tough competition out there. So you guys will have to observe it in the field, see how resistant it is. And then this one is container trial only, and it's a sweet dwarf pepper. And of course, our container trials only have one comparison. So you've got Red Knight to compare that one to. Also in the container trial, we have a basil, again, up against Prospera, and the main thing is the mildew resistance. And I think that is now time to turn it over to you, Jenny, and just tell me when to click through.
Okay, so we're starting off with a sunflower, and we are using Sunfinity as the comparison because that was really the only one that had a similar habit. Next, we have a calendula. This is in the non-AAS Winner Series trial. So especially for new judges, there are separate rounds in Mercado for the non-AAS Winner Series trial entrance and the AAS Winner Series trial entrance. So if you are out in the field and you've got your ornamental seed in ground, interim round open on your Mercado app, you will not find the ones that are in the series trial within that same scoring round. So just be aware of that. We tried to make it easier by putting the word series after the numbered of the entry so that you would know that it's going to be in a different location on your app. So anyway, then for this one, we have the two comparisons, the series comp, which is an anonymous one, and the Pacific Apricot Beauty. Then we've got a Coreopsis and the Cusco Cream Red, Carusco, sorry. Next we have the an Impatiens that is part of the Solarscape Winner Series trial. So you know that this is a Solarscape Impatien, and that will only have the one comparison. Next is a double zinnia with the Zahara double white and the Zydeco white, and we are using those for the comparisons. Next, we have the kale with the Yokohama red and the red Russian. This kale is also in the container trial with the Yokohama red as the comparison for that. Next, we have a verbena with the vanity and the finesse as the comparisons. The vanity is an AAS winner, and you chose that for the growth habit, and the finesse for the growth habit as well. Next, we have the pentas, honey cluster deep rose and kaleidoscope deep rose for the comparisons. The honey cluster for the branching and plant habit, the flower color and timing, and the kaleidoscope for the height and the color. Then we've got the dianthus, which is part of the Supra series that was an AAS winner. So Supra Pink is the comparison. Next, we have the Coreopsis using Sunkiss and Double the Sun. Sunkiss for the performance, the height, and the doubleness of the flower, and the height and the first year flowering of the Double the Sun. And this is also in the container trial. Next, we have a Snapdragon, Potomac Red for the cut flower production, and Opus Red, again for the cut flower production. And Amaranth, we're using the Pygmy Torch for the height and the Red Spike also for height. This is a compact one. Okay, next, a Marigold, that's compact. Antigua Yellow for the height and the color, and Taishan Yellow, again for the height and the color. Next, we have a Vinca. This is in the container trial. This is part of a series. It is not an AAS winner, so the series comp is anonymous. You're going to be judging this entry on the color pattern and vigor. And next, we have a Nasturtium. This is in the container trial. Baby Rose is the comparison, but the entry is not a part of the Baby Rose series. So keep that in mind as you're judging this Nasturtium. And then we've got a Pentas in the container trial, Lucky Star White for the color and height. And next.
Before you go there's a question here about the Snapdragon. For the Snapdragon that is evaluated for cut flower production, should we be cutting one to assess regrowth and stem number in general? And I would say yes. So thank you for that question. Okay, Jenny, I'll move on for you.
Okay. Then in the container trial, we have a Dianthus, Coronet Strawberry we're using as the comparison for the flower type and the plant habit. And then the non-seed trial, this year we only have one entry in the container trial, and it is a Petunia. And then Splash Dance Moonwalk is the comparison for this one, for the flower color pattern and habit. And that's all the ornamental.
Okay. And now I'll whip through these few perennial entries that we have. We do have a Nepeta, and Junior Walker is the comparison for size, habit, and survivability. But Jenny, and I should have written this one down. It's not necessarily for the flower color. Was the entry a white flowered? Or am I asking a question that I should have known before?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to look that up.
We'll come back to everybody on that one. So then I'll move to the Iberis. We chose Mermaid Lavender for the flower color and the compactness on this one. And then we have the Digitalis. We're using Dalmatian Rose as the comparison for the color and the plant size. So I think that was it. If I can't find the answer on that Nepeta, I'll email everybody that is registered and is on here because I want to make sure. So now I think Denise, well, if anybody has any questions on any of the entries, make sure you put them in the chat and we'll answer those, or we'll get back to you if we don't have the answer right away. Sometimes we have to go back to the breeder to ask questions. But Denise, why don't you tell everybody a little bit more about our long incoming plant trialing conference?
Yes, super exciting stuff. This International Plant Trialing Conference that Diane has been effortlessly organizing and forging forward with has not happened since 2013. This is a once every 3 years, 5 years international conference. I think it was held at one point over in the UK. Is that correct, Diane? Years ago. Anyway, for those who haven't signed up for it yet, please do. This is going to be really good. Some of the topics that are going to be discussed there are going to be like best practices from AAS judges, some breeder perspectives. We're going to talk about budget and billing with trials, characteristics of a successful trial manager, some data collection points, effective trial reports. We're going to talk about marketing and promoting industry and just the value of trials to the industry in general. It's going to be essentially a look at trialing for those of us who aren't going to get our PhDs in horticulture, because there's still a lot of research and development that happens in the industry amongst everybody. So hopefully you guys will all make it. We're excited. And yeah, did you want to add anything to that, Diane?
Well, I was just thinking technology too.
Oh, yeah.
Not only Mercado, but we're going to have some of the other trialing software companies there to talk about it. So if any of you are responsible for other trial collection in your trials that's not AAS and you want to, compare and contrast some of them, they'll be there. We're hoping we're getting some information from people who are using drones for their trials, and if that comes through, that's going to be very interesting. It is for both vegetables and ornamentals, both perennials and annuals. We're also going to have some breeding companies from the flowering shrub side. And by the way, if you want to add on or stay later, University of Minnesota has said they would welcome you to come to their trials. And then Bailey Nursery, they said there's not going to be a ton to see in October, but they would still welcome you for a visit there. And both of those are within 30 minutes max of the airport. So you could rent a car or Uber or something. So you can do those before or after. That information is on our website. And also just FYI, this is a replacement for our summer summit. So we will not have a summer summit in 2025. We are instead doing this educational event.
Super fun.
Oh, and thank you, Bernadette Clark. She confirmed what I was thinking. The Nepeta entry is white, but we couldn't get a white comparison, so that's why we used Junior Walker. So thank you so much, Bernadette. I couldn't multitask quite that much to go check the entry form, but yes. Okay, let's see here. Denise and Jenny now are going to talk about our mentors and thank them for being our mentors. I'll turn it over to you guys.
Jenny, do you want to start and then I can finish?
Sure. So for everybody, really, the list of mentors on this page here are some of the more experienced judges who have very graciously said they would play a mentor role to really any judge that is having any questions or wants to run anything past them, but especially for the newer judges. So the 8 new judges that I introduced at the beginning of the meeting will be contacted by one of these mentors just as kind of a welcome, make sure there aren't any questions, and as a resource. So thank you to these judges that have agreed to fill this role.
Thanks, Jenny. I will say this for the new judges and even some of those judges that are just a year in, don't feel, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact who your quote unquote mentor is. Everybody in this group is very easy to talk to and quite funny, probably. Lots of jokesters in here. Anyway, yeah, we're a wealth of knowledge and we're willing to share anything that we can with you guys. So just want to make the transition easy.
Exactly. And for our new judges, I did provide your name and emails to certain people on either the mentor list or on the combined judges committee list who had said, hey, I'll reach out to them. So if you get an email from them and they're saying, if you have any questions, please take advantage of it. Like Denise said, they're very, very willing to help. So I
I
can't
just had one more, if I could, Diane, one more reminder for anybody doing the seed trials. If you have any germination problems, I have extra trial seeds here that I can send you. So if you need me to resend anything, please just shoot me a quick email. We just ask that you start the entry and the comparisons all over again so that everything is started at the same time. But I'm happy to send that along if you have any issues.
Yes, good point. And just as a reminder, Jenny is your point of contact for everything like that. For the non-seed trial, the perennial trial, if you didn't get things, we know there were 1 or 2 entries this year that got a little wonky in the shipping, and Jenny does her absolute best to remind you. And I guess my message is if it comes from me, you can probably wait to read it. But if it comes from Jenny, it's probably pretty urgent and you need to read it right away because it's usually about something timely, like the shipment of your seed or your cuttings. But yes, please let Jenny know if there's any issues with any of those. So I think we are very willing and able to stick around and answer questions. If you have questions, you can just put them in chat or you can turn your microphone on and we can address those. We decided not to do any breakout groups on this one. So please, if you have questions, stick around. If you don't have questions, you can go ahead. I see a hand up. So Denise, you have your hand up?
Yeah, so two things, actually comments rather than questions. This was the first year I do the ornamental non-seed trials. And so they were unrooted cuttings. And in the past, the plugs have ended up upside down, dried out. Some people know how to pack and some don't. And I was very leery about doing unrooted cuttings since I always grew from plugs. And so what I purchased last year they're from Burpee Seed, and they are called their Super Seed uh, packs. And they come in different sizes. I used the 36, and they have a silicone bottom, so these are reusable. They have a tray for water, and mine arrived the day I was leaving for the Philadelphia Flower Show. And so I just used literally a toothpick as a double, made a little hole and popped them in and held my breath. And I have to tell you that almost every one of the unrooted cuttings took. And I was really concerned about that since I do this privately rather than in a big greenhouse. And so if anybody else kind of had those issues, that might be something you want to look into for next year. And the other thing is, I used to do the seed trials, and there was one a few years ago, and it was a corn that was variegated foliage. And some of it was nice, but not enough to really give it any kind of thing. But my comment was that I would hope that they would re-enter after a little breeding. I don't think they did, but is it okay to actually make those comments when we're, sending in our final judging sheets? Somebody?
So you're questioning, should you give information like back to the breeder?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't know if they ever did it again, and I'm sorry they didn't, because it could have been a great plant.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Connie, let's see here. The double Coreopsis entry, should we be comparing the double the sun for doubleness instead of Sunkiss? Was that flipped around on the slide? That was one of the things that I thought. Okay, yeah. So compare the double entry to the double. Yes. Okay, any of our new people, do you have questions? Are you too shy to ask questions? You can always type them in. Or is there anything else regarding this year's trial that anybody wants to ask? We got some thumbs up, like we're ready to go. We're ready to trial. Ready for summer to get here so we can plant. All right. Well, if there are no other questions or comments, you know how to get a hold of Jenny and I, Denise and Chelsea. Well, just let me know if you need to get in touch with them. Denise's information is on our judges list, but Chelsea's isn't. But if you want to get in touch with the VP of the trials committee, let me know. I will put you in touch with her. But I think we're good to go.
I have one more reminder. If there are any perennial judges in this meeting, the 2022 perennial trial is wrapping up, and we do need your scores this June. So please submit your final scores, even if you had a trial failure the first year, the second year, whenever. If you could please log in to the actual final score round in Mercado and put that information in, whatever it is, and then you can be done. So yeah, please don't forget to do the perennial trial. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane and Jenny. You guys are awesome.
Well, thank you. Yes. Will it be posted to watch again? Yes, it'll be in the judges area on our website. So as soon as I download it and put it up to YouTube, then yes, it will be there to review.